Good evening, ladies, gentlemen, and ghouls of all ages. And welcome to the most auspicious of months, especially for us on the spooky side. This month is the most delightful and ominous month of October. Now, in this month, strange things are bound to happen. And I'd like to take a moment to remind you all, as many of you depart or prepare for your festivities, I would like to ask you all to take care. Not all monsters are imagined. Many are very, very real. That warning aside, tonight's story is a tale of a real experience. Something that actually happened to a user out there and was posted in a forum thread. This story has since become very popular. It is about a user's experience with the ROM hack known simply as Mario. Please, sit back, relax, my little ghoulies. Turn the volume up and contemplate the following. So, it all happened on tonight, of all nights. I was bored, obviously contemplating what I thought I could do to waste time as I chatted with people in SMWC. We had good times and shared a few laughs together. Out of boredom, I decided to patrol the hacks waiting to be moderated section. It seemed that we had quite a bit. 33, if I can recall correctly. The first few hacks I saw when I sorted them by date were a couple really horrible ones with bad screenshots to boot. Naturally, I showed these hacks to the Centralites currently on SMWC. We were laughing at how bad some of them were, but then I got to a hack called Mario. Just that. Nothing more, nothing less. The description seemed quite odd, as if some Japanese hacker was trying to translate the original plot of Super Mario World into English and failing horribly. I showed this to Kieran, and he started laughing at the description. It read as follows. As you play the role of Super Mario Plumber, verify that you are beautiful Purinzezu Zutoru. Again, Bowser kidnapped the evil king. It is your job to save her. This hack includes 6 levels of very long. I simply dismissed this as someone trying to act Japanese and release a crappy hack with some edits, so that's what I thought at first. Curiosity got the best of me. I decided to download the hack, not knowing what I was in for, since a single screenshot of the hack was the title screen with nothing but the letters Mario from Super Mario World's title screen. I thought it was a little odd how there were no dates or anything either, as hackers usually place their names and dates on the titles to mark when the project was started. So when I opened the hack, I was greeted by 2 files. One called 3007014, a simple .txt file, 27 kilobytes in size, and the IPS file, simply named Mario. For some odd reason, I wanted to see what the author of the hack had to say. But when I opened the hack in Notepad, there was nothing but indistinguishable symbols and letters and punctuation, Sort of like how when you open a ROM in a text editor, like Notepad. I assumed that the author had just copied his ROM to text form, though I thought I could be wrong. Taking a closer look at the top of the text file, mixed in with the gibberish, I found the only thing that looked like English there. Here is a piece of what I found. Find me, find me, find me, find me, find me. To be honest, I didn't know what to make of this, and I thought it was simply to waste some of my time by making me find some text in the gibberish file that, I'm willing to bet, no one would ever be able to make sense of. I decided that because my interest was growing steadily, I would start looking through my horribly disorganized download folder for a copy of a clean ROM, which I had downloaded a great deal of time before the events of tonight unfolded, and an IPS patcher. Of course, my choice for the job was Lunar IPS. I proceeded to move the ROM and the IPS patcher into the folder with the hack. I patched the ROM, not knowing what to expect next, and I quickly hurried to drag it to ZSNES and play what I thought was to be a terrible in the form of a ROM image. I noticed the boot up that the author had taken the time to change the header of this hack. Instead of the usual Super Mario World you normally see when booting up a ROM in ZSNES, it just had the letters Mario there again. At this point, I gained a little hope. Normally people who do half-assed edits to the ROM generally didn't know enough to change a header title. I thought I wasn't wasting my time with this, and my mood brightened slightly at the thought of seeing what the author had to offer in this interesting little hack. So the title screen loaded, exactly like it would with Super Mario World, except it just had Mario on the title like I had mentioned earlier. Something else had grabbed my interest, more so than the unusual absence of Layer 3 tiles on the title screen. Mario's normal, bright-colored and happy palette seemed, how can I put it, dull. What was once violet-like red was now what seemed like gray with a slight red tint to it, and I'm fairly sure his pants were looking a little more gray than blue too. I thought this was strange, and I wondered why he had decided to give Mario such a dull palette. Regardless as to what his intentions were, I felt that something was wrong. Not in the sense that the palette was slightly bad, but that the hack was empty. Like something had happened. Upon pressing start and selecting a new file, like a lot of other countless Mario hacks I have played in the past, there was some sort of intro screen that basically described the entirety of the plot in a short paragraph, just small enough to fit into a small black box. I began reading, and for the most part, the message stayed the same. But there was one key factor that made this all interesting. The message reads as follows. Welcome. This is Dinosaur Land. In this strange land, we find that Princess Toadstool is missing again. Looks like Mario is at it again. Apparently, the main antagonist of this hack wasn't Bowser at all. It was Mario. What the? This wasn't the original message from Super Mario World, I thought to myself. Normally I wouldn't think of anything of this, seeing as how over my nearly 2 years at SMW Central, I have played countless hacks and have seen many different intro messages, but this one really stuck out. At this point, I definitely knew there was something odd about this hack. Upon letting the intro level music play, I pressed the start button on my controller to finally get to the overworld and begin my journey into this unknown hack. Upon entering the overworld, Everything seemed normal. Same old level paths, same old music. But the level names were different. Instead of Yoshi's house, like it had always been, every time I ever played Super Mario World, it was just simply Yoshi's. I thought that this was strange, and I began to lose hope in the hack because it had seemed like barely anything at all had changed from the original. I was hoping to see something new. Unluckily for me, I got my wish, as you'll see when you read on. I entered the level out of curiosity. The whole house that's normally there was gone. No smoke, no fire, no little birdies, no more treehouse. All that was left was the message box. I hid it. Upon opening, the message I expected to be there was replaced with what seemed like binary. Apparently, it says notepad. At this point, I was on IRC telling everyone how the hack was starting to weird me out, which in itself yielded some sarcastic responses. But I expected it. After this, my interest skyrocketed, and along with it, my paranoia. Oh boy, was I in for a fun surprise. I headed to the left. Upon reaching what was before known as Yoshi's Island 1, the level was now labeled Never Come Back. I thought things were going to be all Kaizo Death Trap, because generally that is what people name their levels in Kaizo hacks to make sure the player doesn't go there. To my surprise, it wasn't quite that way. Though, I wish that it had been. Upon entering level 105, I was greeted by the insanely loud clown car sound that Bowser's flying vehicle makes right before Peach falls out. Of course, with my headphones being moderately high, the sound scared the living shit out of me, which wouldn't have happened if I hadn't been so nervous beforehand. I decided that at this time, it would be best if I turned the volume on my headphones down, as to not getting me more unpleasant surprises such as that one. When I entered the level, other than the music, everything seemed to be the same. Except for the fact that the little Koopa that slides on the ledges wasn't there anymore. Nor was the bonsai bill. The dragon coin was still there. However, for some odd reason, I wasn't able to collect it. Or rather, any dragon coins at all. The author made certain of that. I also noticed that there was a brown used block near the spot where the bonsai bill normally shows up. I can only assume that this was a revisit to the level after I'd beaten it, like I heard in some half-assed creepy stories in other Mario games. Now, I was wondering why things were like this. I was thinking about the intro message. Had Mario done something previously to Dinosaur Land? Was this in Bowser's point of view? I quickly dismissed the latter option because it seemed kind of stupid. So that left me thinking that Mario, at one point in time in the author's story, did something. But what? What did Mario do? My mind was nothing but rushing thoughts at this point. I quickly dismissed them and ventured further into the level, only to find that all blocks had basically been hit. Coins had been collected, save the dragon coins that were still there and still unobtainable. There were no enemies, and I could no longer go down pipes. What kind of bullshit am I playing here? I kept thinking to myself. At this point, I felt uncomfortable, though I decided to keep venturing. Soon enough, I came across another message box. I wasn't surprised it was still in the level. Idiot that I am, I went and hid it. I was greeted with the familiar black box again. The message was edited once again, and as I figured that was a given at this point, it read as follows. Point of advice. I hate you. Now I thought things were starting to get the vibe that the author was a twisted and warped individual, and I was right about Mario having done something. At this point, I was basically rushing to get to the end of the level, so I just scurried by, and then I came across another message box. However, this one was just a blank box with point of advice at the top with nothing else in it. I quickly disregarded it and headed off further to the right, hoping to free myself of the hell that was once level 105. Upon reaching the end, I saw a fire flower in the top block where the four-way block intersection used to be. However, it was too high for me to reach by normal means. So, I just continued onward and, like the blind, curious idiot I am, would do. I finally beat the level, and as the usual path to the Yellow Switch Palace was unlocked, I decided to head up the path that leads to it. I found that when I entered the main overworld, every other landmass and decoration, besides the ghost from ghost houses and Yoshi's Island itself, were gone. Nothing really changed at the Yellow Switch Palace, except for the message. All that changed was that Switch Palace was changed to Mario World. When I thought I was done with the abomination that calls itself a hack, I found that Yoshi's Island 2 had also been edited. Oh joy, I thought to myself. Upon reaching Yoshi's Island 2, I found that it had been renamed to Yoshi's House, the original name of level 104. I decided to enter and found that the palette of the level had been changed, along with the background. They seemed to have been changed to the same palette as Yoshi's Island 3. You know, greenish, tan, and such. Except the background was pushed down some, and was now a rotting brown color. And the vegetation in the foreground was now no longer present. I decided to explore the level a bit, and came across a trail of Koopas that countless players have used to shell a pack free 1-ups with. I decided to ignore them and see if any more of the level has changed. I eventually came across the question mark that holds Yoshi, and decided to free him. Upon freeing him, I got this message. Hooray! Thank you for rescuing me. My name is Yoshi. On my way to rescue my friends, Mario trapped me in that egg. This had me wondering what kind of sick and twisted hack I was playing. I had thought of all possible scenarios of Mario attacking Dinosaur Land, horribly and irreversibly causing damage. The author had me hooked on his sick little game. And, like any other idiot, I took the bait and kept coming back for more. Somewhere, not far off the Yoshi's question mark block, I found another message box. If I've learned anything at all, it's not going to be what it was originally was. And it wasn't going to be normal in the slightest. The message I was greeted with was as follows. But is there anything I can do to change your mind? What the fuck? I thought to myself, what the hell did this even mean? Change my mind? What could I change my mind about anyways? Was this about Mario and whatever he did? And about how people were trying to convince him to stop? Was Yoshi talking to me through message boxes? Or was it about me? About me playing the hack? Asking me as if the hack was trying to talk to me through the message boxes. Either way, whether it was for more backstory on what Mario had done, or if it was to keep questioning my decision to keep going, I decided to keep progressing. As I progressed, I found that I was right. All vegetation was now gone. Nothing was left at all, save a few enemies, like chucks and moles and such. Even the pipes were gone. I came across another message box. Like all other times before, I hid it. I was greeted with yet another cryptic message. Point of advice. This is the selfish way out. The selfish way out. What the hell? Was he calling me selfish for continuing to play the hack, despite the warnings? Had Mario made some kind of selfish decision that only benefited him? Was Yoshi still trying to talk to me? What the hell was this guy trying to tell me? At this point, I was creeped out to the point that I was shaking slightly. A mixture of anticipation, fear, and the fact that my room was terribly cold last night. I closed the message box and once again proceeded further. The area with the moles seemed the same, except for the fact that the block next to the vine was gone, along with the happy clouds and dragon coin the vine allowed access to. This made me feel gloomy, to say the least. Not so much frightened as I was depressed. It's a feeling I couldn't really explain well. From this point on, it was basically just a big empty stretch of land to the end of the level. I proceeded quickly. I wanted to get the fuck out of there, as I had spent enough time looking around. So, Yoshi and I opened the next path on the overworld. Memories of Super Bobito World flooded my mind. How the levels would take giant leaps in number order, which made it seem ridiculous. Though, at this time, I didn't quite find it humorous due to common sense and obvious reasons explained earlier. As I entered the level, I was welcomed by a solid black background and a blue and gray colored floor. The place seemed frozen, lifeless, barren. There was nothing in the level at all, save the goal point. Just a clear stretch of land with nothing else at all. I lost interest and quickly finished the level. This was what seemed like the most empty and creepy level in the game, though as you'll read on, it gets far worse. A new path opened up. Yoshi's Island 4 was now just leave now. I hesitated as whether I should stop playing, but my interest kept me going further. At this point, SMWC was nothing more but me posting findings and messages from the hack so others could experience what I was experiencing. The channel was sadly, unusually inactive. Seemed like no one really cared, wasn't around. I felt alone. I proceeded into the level. For the most part, everything seemed the same, save for the fact that there was now no water at all to keep me from falling in pits without using Yoshi as a sacrifice. The level was also void of enemies as well. Whenever I got to an area that would be too far for me to jump, I found that I could walk right across on the air, thus getting rid of the need to use Yoshi as a sacrifice. It's apparent the hack wanted me to keep him. I could tell that much. I was able to get to the pipe that usually leads to the exit level. I went in and found that the room was exactly the same. Everything in the right place, and nothing edited. At least that's what I initially thought. The message box once again broke the mood of that brief moment of relief. At this point, I was questioning whether I should keep going to see how it ends, or quit now while I still have a bit of common sense left. The message box was indistinguishable, and I couldn't really make sense of it. For a moment, I tried to figure out what it meant, but I eventually just gave up and beat the level. I figured that box wasn't worth the time anyway. The level beaten, the path to the first world castle opened, now renamed Number 1, Iggy's Castle, to Number 1, Go Back. I decided to completely ignore the level name, as I just wanted to get this over with and be done with it forever. What initially seemed like a normal castle intro was made especially creepy, given the fact that I had to dismount Yoshi. I felt for the first time that I actually was abandoning him. I wish I had taken him with me. The inside room of this castle looked strange. There was this darkish, bluish, greenish, black lava on the ceiling. And there were goal points that looked like pillars. Aside from that, next to each pillar, there was an increasing amount of message boxes next to each pillar the further I got. The room was basically just a big hallway with no enemies or anything of the sort. Every message box I pressed either gave me a blank box with Yoshi's signature at the bottom, or the message that reads as follows. Don't you think you've caused enough trouble? Another cryptic message. Though at this point, I wasn't surprised. Not in the slightest. Again, the thoughts in my head started circling, wondering what exactly Mario had done. Why he was there, and why everything seemed to hate everything about him and wanted him gone forever. I was feeling more depressed than scared at this point, to be honest, and I had no idea what to expect next. I proceeded down the hallway, checking message boxes filled with nothing but the same two messages over and over. It's like they were telling me to stop playing or something. I ignored them and kept going until I reached the end of the hallway. There was a door, and I entered. I was welcomed by nothing but a small section of land, and at that, the level was auto-scrolling, so I figured that this must be the end, that the author wanted me to jump in the pit and commit suicide or something, thus ending my journey. I was wrong. The auto-scroll pushed me over the edge, and I was still walking, unfortunately. The whole level was nothing but a long stretch of invisible land to another small piece of land, just big enough for a boss door to fit. The auto-scroll came to a stop, and I was prepared for the worst. I gathered my composure, swallowed some of the spit in my mouth, and took a deep breath. I entered. Nothing but a normal Iggy boss. I felt cheated in a way, though I was happy to think it was finally over. I defeated Iggy with 2 jumps effortlessly, which is actually the quickest I'd ever beaten him before. After he fell in the lava, the course clear message popped up as usual. It ended as I was brought to the rescue egg scene, though instead of the usual message, I was shown something disturbing and vastly different, like a profile for the scene of a crime. It was as follows. Victim 1. Eyeballs were unable to be found. The victim was found lying on her carpet. Causes of death unknown. Hand marks with unidentifiable fingerprints were found all over the corpse. What the fuck is wrong with this guy? I said as I read the disturbing message. I mean, it was a hack, but still, who the hell was this victim? Why were her eyeballs gouged out? And just what could have made those unidentifiable fingerprints that were found on her body? Was this Mario's doing? Is this what the author was trying to tell me? And furthermore, was the princess, or was the girl, Princess Toadstool? It took me a while to see if I read the message correctly, and then I proceeded outwards. Though I was wondering what happened next, since the main map was completely gone, and there was no trace of it anywhere. To my surprise, it still showed the path for Donut Plains, the event tile still being there, marking the path to the lone level on the giant map that was once the main world. It was still called Donut Plains 1. I thought we were finally done once more, but when I entered the level, I could see that, like the previous times, I was, once again, wrong. Upon entering, I saw 2 message boxes. They said as follows: "There's no way out of here. Fly away." I found it quite strange that both message boxes were contradicting each other. One was telling me that there was no way out of this accursed hell, and the other was telling me that if I could fly away, I could be free. Though I saw no feather or enemies to grab one with. Was this telling me that I could either rise up and go to heaven, or stay in hell forever, wallowing in despair? Did I need a cape to proceed? And what happens after this? Is the whole game like this? I began to create more thoughts in my head, trying to figure the message boxes out, but to no avail. I continued walking right. I made a jump, but I found that I was stuck in the area, and there was an invisible wall. I thought I hit a dead end. When I landed, I tried moving to the right to see if there was any way to go on. All of a sudden, I heard the pipe sound, and I was making the pipe animation. Except, I couldn't see one, so it looked odd. I was then taken to a level with a black background, stone blocks for ground, and a small door. I was immediately given a mushroom to prevent me from entering it, so I proceeded further to see if there was anything else in the level. I found that the room was nothing but a long stretch of concrete blocks and doors that were too small for me to enter because of the mushroom I got. It's obvious the author didn't want me going through any of them, or I wouldn't have gotten the mushroom in the first place. As I proceeded, I found myself at a dead end. Since there was nothing left for me to look at, I tried to go right again. It worked. I went through the brick wall. It acted like a pipe. I did a pipe animation that looked like I was going into the darkness. I was then taken to a small room with what seemed like a pit and a wall. I jumped down into the pit, seeing as how there was no other option, though I found that the bottom of the pit was solid. I tried pressing down in a bunch of areas until I came across a pipe. Mario slowly did the pipe transition downwards off the screen. Expecting another level, I waited. But there was no more. Just a black screen. I was unable to continue. Unable to pause, or exit the level, or move. There was nothing at all. Nothing. This was the video game representation of death. A crash. Mario had died. After playing, I think I finally understand what was happening. I believe Mario was atoning for his actions, eventually being plummeted into a hell that looked exactly like Yoshi's Island, where he was lost to the grip of death forever. I was finally done playing and quite relieved at that. The nightmare was finally over, and activity on IRC seemed to be back up again. I quickly shared my tales with the rest of SMWC and typed this documentation of it. If you feel daring enough, you too can witness my tale firsthand. Remember, it's only a hack. Can't hurt you, can it? Around 2 hours later, the TXT file was found that it could be converted into a JPEG. The image was corrupted at first, but eventually, this was uncovered. Now, ladies and gentlemen, while that video was playing, I happened to acquire a very special guest. If you have any hint of psychic ability and can tell the future, you might have an idea in who it is. If not, I'll tell you right now. Tonight's guest, a very special guest, is a soul called straight from the pits of Hades. Now, how did I acquire such a guest? It's very simple. With a little black magic, of course. Anything is possible. I'm sorry, they just told me a very funny joke. I forgot. They speak an ancient and dead tongue that those of you without black magic can't quite understand. I apologize. But please enjoy yourself. I hope you had a good time.